although many of us don't know a whole lot about it, as we're all students in higher education, it serves us well to understand the differences because we're the ones that are most directly affected by it. Last week, when I mentioned it, I had a lot of preconceived thoughts about the DREAM Act. But after hours of research, I realized I knew about as much about the DREAM Act as an engineer knows about farming. And the Oregon DREAM Act, which was passed in March of 2011, is a misguided and inadequate substitute for the failed federal DREAM Act. And the only solution is to pass the federal DREAM Act, thereby superseding Oregon's bill. So to start, we'll look at Oregon's version of the DREAM Act. Oregon's version of the DREAM Act is a state initiative, and it's got admirable goals, which is to provide education to people that can't necessarily afford it, but it comes at the expense of all the taxpayers, and it comes at a time when the state can't necessarily afford to have incur more education expenses. So the Oregon DREAM Act is an initiative that allows illegal and undocumented immigrants to receive in-state tuition for higher education, and it also qualifies them to receive state grant money of up to $5,800 per year, which does not need to be paid back. According to the Oregon University system, Oregon enrollment projections have increased nearly 20% since 2008, and during the same time frame, the budget cuts have totaled over $190 million, which is about 23% at the same time. So the statewide DREAM Act poses a very real concern. Senator Larry George says on DreamActInfo.com, "We're cutting school days, adding furlough days, and we can't fund full-day kindergarten, and then we're passing something that will put an additional burden on the higher education system. Low on money, low on resources, and low on support, Oregon and many of its residents feel that it's an appropriating state funds for people that are here illegally is a misguided use of those funds. As students and residents of Oregon, we are all vying for a small slice of the pie that is Oregon's educational budget, and the Oregon DREAM Act continues to make your slice smaller and smaller. With more and more illegal immigrants coming into the country every year, the appropriation of funds for their benefits will continue to grow. The current legislative system has failed to address many issues on this topic. Providing illegal immigrants with cheaper education than many citizens of the country is a gross inequality that has upset many citizens. Since Social Security and tax IDs are no longer issued for people without proper documentation, the amount of illegal immigrants paying taxes into the system has diminished greatly since 2004. If they're not contributing to the system, then why should they be able to benefit from it? As you can imagine, decreased revenue and increased spending is a recipe for disaster. So the Oregon DREAM Act is a financial blunder that needs fixing. The solution to the problem is the National DREAM Act, which is an acronym for Development, Relief, and Education of Alien Minors, which sounds like very similar to the Oregon DREAM Act. In reality, there's several distinct differences. The Federal DREAM Act differs from the Oregon DREAM Act in several ways. Time magazine says that the Federal DREAM Act puts forth a path for citizenship for illegal aliens and who can prove their education status and that they have been trying to become a citizen. This will encourage illegal immigrants to take steps towards becoming citizens, and in the end benefits both immigrants and the state and the country. By following this path, many immigrants will eventually become tax-paying citizens who will then be able to benefit from the system that they pay into. And this will greatly reduce angst among people that feel that no one should benefit from a system they don't contribute to at the expense of others. Another important consideration of the federal bill is that it eliminates a provision that currently the states are penalized for providing in-state tuition without without regards to immigration status. But if the federal bill is passed, this penalization would be eliminated. And that was mentioned by the Legal Language Services. The Federal DREAM Act will not introduce new problems to the system that are not relatively minor compared to its benefits. Illegal immigrants may not like it that much because it might take longer for them to receive their benefits, but in the end, the benefits that they did receive would be greater than what they receive under the state initiative, Oregon DREAM Act. So it's likely worth the wait. On its website, the College Board states that, quote, in strictly economic terms, the contributions that DREAM Act students would make over their lifetimes would dwarf the small additional investment in their education beyond high school, and the intangible benefits of legalizing and educating these students would be significant. According to the New York Times, in 2010, the House voted on the DREAM Act, and it passed by a count of 216 to 198. Then it went to the Senate, and it failed. The DREAM Act has been voted now 3 times in Congress, 2001, 2007, and 2010, each time passing in the House and failing in the Senate. And that was mentioned on the Huffington Post, which is an internet newspaper. Eager to emphasize education and equality, the federal bill's failure has sparked states like California and Oregon to come up with their own initiatives, but these statewide versions are very different than their original counterparts, and they cannot possibly last that long with the continued budget cuts that the states are facing. If you would like to support the federal DREAM Act, the easiest thing you could do is go to dreamact.org and sign the federal petition, or sign the ones that I have printed out here. I have printed out a bunch of petitions if anybody would like to sign one, and I could send them later. Another thing that you can do is contact your senators, since it always fails in the Senate. Contacting your senator and letting them know how you feel would be a good way to go about it. And I've also printed out a bunch of duplicates of the 2 Oregon State senators. If anybody wants a copy of their phone numbers and their email addresses, they can get a copy of that and get in contact with their senators. And it's more important to talk to your senators because that's where the bill keeps failing. So, now that you understand the differences between the state and federal DREAM Act, it's time to take a stand. The Oregon DREAM Act is a costly initiative that comes in time of widespread financial cutbacks, but by passing the federal act, we can create a more fiscally responsible way to educate undocumented immigrants. Remember, there are steps that you can take to support this. You can sign the petitions here. You can go to the website and sign the petitions on dreamact.com. You can contact your representatives or your senators, but I would urge you to do your senators because that would be more important. And everyone in this country deserves a chance for having education, but we must provide the education in a financially responsible manner, or we, the students and teachers of Oregon, might be facing educational budget cuts for a long time.